What's up my bodyweight warriors, and welcome back to another video. Today I've got a nice stretching video for you. It's a simple one, but it's something that is going to be pretty effective, especially for those of us who have been maybe sitting a little bit more lately around the house as we're stuck at home in this lockdown. But that doesn't matter, doesn't make you a bad person. If you can't move all day, it's not always the end of the world. There's things that we can do about it, and the stretches I'm going to share with you in today's video is going to help you combat that. So let's jump straight into it. Right, so today's video is going to focus around 3 different stretches that are all essentially the same. We're just going to have slightly different variations of them, going from active to kind of active to passive. So also have essentially the same focus, but go about it in a different way. All these stretches are quite simple, but I am going to provide you some modifications because I know for a fact that some of these positions are going to cause some issues for some people. So we're going to go about how you can change them to make them find whatever level of flexibility you're at. The passive element of this video is a nice one to do on a relaxed daily basis, and it kind of is paired well in terms of sitting and correcting that sitting posture with another video I posted a long time ago, which is my favorite glute stretch. So I'll link that video down below. I would highly recommend combining the two. These 2 stretches will definitely help a lot of people out. The first stretch is the camel pose, also known as Ustrasana. Don't worry, I had to Google that. I'm not a yogi by any means. And just before the comments, this isn't a video about yoga. I am sharing a video about stretching. That is what I do, is flexibility. I don't have a preference towards yoga or anything else. Whatever floats your boat, this just so happens to be a pose in yoga as well, so I thought I'd give it its actual name. This position is the active position. In this position, we're going to be using our own strength to support the structure, provide the stretch on the muscles that are being stretched. It's therefore going to be a more intense position to hold, therefore we're going to be able to hold it for less time, or we can perform it for reps, etc. We'll get to that a bit later. The next position is an active kneeling extension stretch. I didn't have a better name for it. It's essentially an in-between ground between the active position and the final position. In this position, we're going to be relaxed in the lower body, but we're going to be using the upper body to support our chest and provide an active stretch over the bicep and the chest and kind of support the structure. Again, this is a little bit more relaxed, but it's not completely relaxed. Like the final variation, which is just the supported kneeling extension stretch. Again, didn't have a better name for it. But essentially this is a relaxed, a passive stretching position, something that you can hold for time, you can relax in, breathe out the day's troubles, and you're not actively working to hold the position. So a few things that all these stretches do. Number one is they provide a pretty great stretch for hip extension. They provide a nice hip opening stretch. They're gonna give a pretty aggressive stretch for that deep knee flexion, stretching over the quad, stretching over the hip flexor, so that's that group of muscles, and also a little bit into the abdominals. It's going to focus nicely on the hip, something that gets commonly tight from not only sitting, but also, you know, a lot of people doing core work and other things that tend to tighten up the area. These stretches all really target that very nicely. The extra bonus we get with the camel pose position is that we're going to be actively contracting the glutes to try and posteriorly tuck the hips in this position. By actively contracting the glutes, we're also going to be working on activating, strengthening them. It's also going to have that effect of reciprocal inhibition, which is going to help in the hip flexor and the quad and those sort of things to relax further. The next benefit of these stretches is they all provide a nice element of extension, specifically in a lot of cases that thoracic kind of just spinal extension. Again, day-to-day living, we're going to spend a lot of time in a flexed position, those forward folded shoulders, flexion, whether we're sat at a computer, whether we're looking at our phone. Generally, a lot of day-to-day activities involve flexion. So it is good to add some form of extension to help open us up, help maintain a little bit of structural balance, those open shoulders. All of these have that active position. And again, the active positions will have that active strengthening of like the traps, the rear delts, and a lot of those other posterior muscles that are going to help open up and counteract that flexed shoulder position. The 2 active positions are also going to provide a nice stretch into the biceps as well, which we commonly have in a shortened position when we're, you know, working at a computer or whatever. We're going to have a shortened bicep position. So again, it's nice to add a little bit of shoulder extension. So let's have a look at some form cues and some modifications that you can do to these stretches to make the most out of them. So let's start with the camel pose first and foremost. This is essentially an active position. So the most important thing is that we're being active in the shortening side of the stretch. So in this case, we're going to make sure that our glutes are turned on. We're going to be posteriorly tucking that pelvis. That means if it was a bowl of water, the water would be spilling backwards. We're going to actively try to push the chest nice and tall, pull the shoulder blades back into retraction and down. That is the position that we can hold. If this is a little bit too challenging for you, there's a couple of modifications that we can make. Number one is we can go from a flat pointed plantar flexed position of the feet to a dorsiflexed position of the feet. So we're going to be on our toes instead of the top of our feet. This will make the stretch a little bit easier. If that still isn't easy enough, we can elevate the hands further by using yoga blocks, by using a table, by using whatever really you have lying about, something that's going to be higher than the top of your feet so you can sit in that stretch position. We can perform this one for just hold time, so actively holding that position, focusing on having a mild contraction, like 50% of max effort contraction on those glutes of those shoulders, and just breathing, holding that position 45, 60 seconds, whatever feels comfortable. Or alternatively, we can actually perform these for reps as well. It actually works quite nicely, especially as like a morning opening sort of routine. We can do this for 5-10 reps, and we're gonna get a similar sort of effect. Either or, it's really up to you. Next, we have that semi-active position, and a lot of the same things are gonna apply, especially around the shoulders, lifting the chest up, putting the shoulder blades back, trying to get more extension out of the arms. Further back, we're gonna move the arms, the more intense the stretch is gonna become. With the hips though, we wanna start by setting the hips and trying to posteriorly tuck them before we sit down into the stretch. But from that point, we kind of want to try and sit, relax, and breathe, and just generally take things a little bit easier. Now, I know for a lot of people, they're not going to be able to comfortably sit in this kneeling position. They're not going to be able to get their hips down towards their heels. They might potentially not be comfortable with that level of plantar flexion of the foot. So there's a couple of modifications that we can make here. Number one is simply elevating the hips. We can do this just by grabbing a few pillows, chucking them under the hips, and then we can sink down onto a level that is comfortable for us. Obviously, the higher it is, the easier it's going to become. The lower it is, the more intense the stretch is going to be. Again, we can also do the same things with the feet as well. If we're getting too much stretch, if we're feeling uncomfortable on the ankles, we can place a cushion or two or a folded towel or something underneath the front of the ankles themselves. And in this way, we're going to reduce that level of requirement of flexibility and again, make it a little bit more comfortable to sit in. This one again is probably just best to hold for time, much like the first one. 45, 60 seconds is fine. You probably can hold this one a little bit longer because it's a little bit more passive, less intense. But generally, sit, breathe in this position. This one can be done just, maybe as a work break in the day, maybe to relax in the evening. No real right or wrong here. The third and final option, the full passive, the relaxed position, is really going to be modified by the following examples as well. The primary one we're going to look at is the level of the hips. So do we need to elevate the hips? Do we need to stick some cushions under there to make things comfortable? Follow the previous recommendations there. Once we find a level that's comfortable, we can then look at the height of the shoulders. So in this instance, I'm just demoing this on a sofa or a couch. And this for me, I find is just comfortable to relax in. We gotta remember this is a relaxed position, therefore we're not gonna be challenging our max level of flexibility. We're rather instead gonna be going for a comfortable level of flexibility. Think of it as like 70 to 80% of your maximum range of motion. That being said, we can lower down that upper body supporting area. The lower we go, the more intense the stretch is gonna be. I would recommend getting your hips down closer towards your heels first, and then going to lower the shoulders second. We can also, whilst we're here, play around with different shoulder positions. We can simply relax the shoulders to the side. We can have the shoulders in a more open position with our hands behind our heads, or just, opening up the shoulders altogether. This one, you can just play around with, find what feels comfortable. In terms of the stretch itself, we can hold this position for time or for breaths. This one is a really nice one to do in the evening to unwind, to relax, to open yourself up and just breathe in a position. We can do this for, 60, 120, so 2 minutes or so is a good starting point to do. I probably wouldn't pass much more than 5 minutes because spending a lot of time in this intense stretch position, especially if your knees potentially aren't used to it, can overstretch some ligaments and tendons and things, and we don't necessarily want that. So make sure it remains within that comfortable range of motion. This shouldn't be maximum effort, this shouldn't be uncomfortable, this should be a position that you can relax into and you can just breathe. But that is basically it for today. Those are the 3 stretches that I'm going to recommend to you if you're sitting a lot all day, if you're feeling a bit tired, a bit hunched over, if you just want to unwind, relax, provide some extension, counteract some of those issues alongside a good strength training regimen. This will work quite nicely. If you have any questions about today's video, if you're going to let me know if you're going to give this one a go, or perhaps you have your own personal favorite stretch that you like to throw in on a daily basis, then let me know in the comments section down below. Whilst down there, you can also hit that thumbs up button and support the channel. I'd highly appreciate it. Help that YouTube algorithm out. And also, while you're down there, you can hit that subscribe button and join the Bodyweight Warrior tribe on our way to now what seems to be 500,000, which again, mind-blowing. But that's basically been it for this week, guys. I'll catch you in the next episode. Have a strong week and peace.